Here we go again.
Here's my last and final statement on GTA 6, as simply as I can put it. 10 years of development, over a $2 billion budget, a marketing deal with Sony. They want a minimum of $80 to $100 for the base game. Gamers today will look for any excuse to be angry. Developers and publishers are worried. The don't like, don't buy it curse is real. With all these factors in mind, GTA 6 will be 60 FPS, even on the Nintendo Switch.
Storage, obviously a massively improved GPU, but the CPU is staying roughly the same as we had before. Now there is a clock bump that developers can tap into there, but it is, broadly speaking, a very comparable CPU there. Why wasn't the CPU upgraded, and why was that not such a big focus there?
It's really just a question of where you put your resources. And I wasn't seeing, and I didn't think I would see, that many titles that couldn't run at 60. That's kind of my litmus test. Yeah. I'm not asking, do all the games run at 120 at this point in time? I'm asking, do all the games run at 60? And you can count the AAA exceptions on one hand, I think, for games that didn't eventually run at 60. And so it seemed if we threw pretty much all of our resources into the graphics, that would be the best approach.
I mean, the thing is, if you want, so as part of getting games into this current generation where we had this longer cross-gen period, 60 FPS titles made a lot of sense because the games were still being developed for Xbox One and PS4 with significantly weaker CPU resources there. And you could use that extra CPU power afforded by the Zen 2 processors in these machines like Series X, PlayStation 5 usually, to bring that up to 60. But as soon as you want to start actually improving aspects of the world beyond that which we saw in the previous generation, like these Rockstar tend to do this. That's the thing. They've done it every single time they release a game. I don't think they've released a 60 FPS game that wasn't a remaster.
Probably not there, which is probably going to upset a lot of people. But, every single GTA game has been 30 FPS, sometimes struggling to hit 30 FPS. If they're pushing simulation just as hard in GTA 6, I'm not seeing anything in the PlayStation 5 Pro that's going to get you to 60 FPS if the base machine can't do it. If it can, happy days. But if it can't...
Yeah, that does make me wonder, will GTA 6 move the needle for the Pro as much as I've thought it will? Because if it's not, I do wonder if people decide to make the jump, because that game will sell hardware, period. It is going to be the biggest cash cow for any console manufacturer that is able to support the title.
Yeah, I mean, they could have...
There is, and I quote, hope that within the game industry that publisher Take-Two will use the unprecedented excitement around GTA 6 in order to bump up the default price of the game to $100.
The game industry struggled to maintain inflation-adjusted prices. The basic argument is that when adjusted for inflation, video games are cheaper now. Video games are cheaper now. Video games are cheaper now. Video games are cheaper now.
Are you kidding me? In 2025, when almost every major game runs at 60 frames per second on PS5, and we're even pushing 120 frames per second on the PS5 Pro, Rockstar still thinks 30 frames per second is acceptable for GTA 6? This is beyond ridiculous. Mike York, an animator who worked on previous Rockstar games like GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2, recently gave an interview which was later taken down, where he basically said, don't expect 60 frames per second on PS5 or Xbox Series X at launch. That's right, GTA 6 will be locked at 30 frames per second on consoles, while only the PC version will get the smooth 60 frames per second experience. Sound familiar? Yeah, because Rockstar pulled the exact same move with Red Dead Redemption 2, refusing to give PS5 and Series X players a proper update even years after release. York even spelled it out. I don't know if they'll Rockstar be able to pull off 60 frames per second in GTA 6. I don't think so. I think they're going to be shooting for 30 frames per second, and a locked 30 frames per second, meaning it never dips below that, and then he doubles down. I don't think it'll get the 60 FPS raw out the gate on a base console, PS5 for instance, maybe PS5 Pro or whatever, but I still don't think so. But from my experience, they're Rockstar going to squeeze every little freaking thing they can out of GTA 6 and then optimize later for 60 frames, because it's not as important as just making the game amazing at 30 frames. Are you serious? It's not as important, so Rockstar is just going to dump another gorgeous looking slideshow on console players and tell us to be happy with it? Give me a break. Look, modern games give players a choice: performance mode or quality mode. Even GTA 5's next-gen version had multiple options, with 2 of them targeting 60 FPS. Yet somehow Rockstar expects us to believe that GTA 6, a game releasing in 2025 exclusively on next-gen hardware, can't even offer a 60 frames per second option at launch? That's a joke. And before anyone jumps in with, but Rockstar will optimize optimize it later, when? If they really cared, Red Dead Redemption 2 would have gotten a 60 frames per second patch by now. But no, they'd rather milk GTA Online while console players get left behind. Here comes Rockstar acting like it's still 2013, pretending that we should be grateful for a locked 30 FPS on hardware that is fully capable of more. I don't care how amazing GTA 6 looks. If Rockstar refuses to give console players 60 frames per second at launch, then they are straight up. I don't care how smart your NPCs are or how realistic your hair physics look. We've had 3 Watch Dogs games since GTA 5. We've seen Horizon Forbidden West push insane open-world graphics at 60 frames per second. The Last of Us Part 2 has characters so realistic, you can see their pores. And yet none of these games had to sacrifice performance. So what's Rockstar's excuse? There is none. They've had over a decade to figure this out, while other studios have been delivering jaw-dropping visuals at 60 frames per second without issue. This is the bare minimum for a next-gen game in 2025. Nobody cares if every NPC has a PhD in quantum physics or if their hair strands move individually in the wind. If the game runs at 30 frames per second, it's going to feel sluggish, outdated, and unacceptable. We are not stepping backwards. Not for Rockstar, not for anyone.
Today. Come to me